What I'm going to be doing with the next 15 minutes or so is running through a demo of the Catchpoint platform. Please feel free to stop me at any time and make it as interactive as possible. I prefer those demos. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So here I'm in the Catchpoint platform, and I'm, like Joe, taking a look at my stack map. Now, this is a stack map for a demo app. It's just a cinema booking ticket app. Obviously leverages several different layers and services within those layers. At a first glance, what I'm seeing is a lot of alerts coming from several different areas. So what I want to do is hover over and focus on one to start, and it's DNS, right? Because again, that's the first impression of any user coming to my site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and over here look at what's going on from an incidents perspective. Are there any layers that are currently seeing incidents? And I do see one, right? First one being DNS. So what I want to do there is click into that layer. Now, from that layer, you can go ahead and break down by service, right? Is there one of your CDN providers that may be impacting this current experience? But more importantly, since I know there is actually an event going on, sorry, let me add my DNS layer again here. Because I know there's an event going on, you can just go ahead and hover over it and see, okay, well, the system's telling me, alongside my critical alert on test failure, that AWS Route 53 is also detecting some errors. And again, that's taking my synthetic data through my synthetic tests, as well as other customers' data, and the monitoring that we're doing for the 300 plus services that are out there from a third-party perspective. You then click into this additional data tab, and what this additional data tab will show you are the recent test runs, alerts and errors for that particular layer. So I can go ahead and click into the errors, and we can see here that we're seeing several DNS failures coming from several different locations. I'm going to go ahead and click into one of those records. Now, a record is just a single atomic level of a single test run. All right, so we can see here that there obviously a DNS failure coming from the initial domain, and Sonar is telling me right up here up top that we're detecting some issue with that provider in the regions that you're currently testing from. You can then go ahead and click on the Internet Sonar map, and what this will do is show us at that point in time, well, what is Catchpoint seeing from that provider's perspective? So we can see here that we're seeing a DNS error from 94 cities, and it's currently ongoing. I want to click into that and see a little more details into that. Obviously, it's a demo service that I'm showing here, so it's been going on for 400 hours or so, but typically that would be a couple of minutes or so. And then what we can see here is, well, is this event currently affecting any of my tests, any of the cities that we're running from, and what individual domains may that be impacting? So I can go ahead and click over here. Apologies for that. Let's let that load. Hotel Wi-Fi joke. Anyone got one?
Did you buy the premium one?
Yeah, I don't think I bought the premium one. But we can click over here and you can see exactly what our system's telling us. It's that demo.catchpoint.com domain that this app is powered by, where we're seeing the DNS failures from a global perspective. Let me take a look or step back here and jump back out to the stack map here, and let's focus on a different type of failure potentially.
Are those just all visual cues, those little dots, the reds, and then the shaded areas that are almost like recommendations to take a look at, right?
Sorry, are you referring to the time series up top or in the stack map?
And then the stack maps with the reds.
Yeah.
All of them have those little dot next to it, so those are almost like recommendations to.
Correct.
That's the first things you should look at.
Yeah.
Red here, but.
Yeah, exactly. And in this case, you follow it down through your stack map, and we can actually go ahead and say, let's just focus on database or all the way into the back end, because that's where we're seeing this particular failure, right? The client's seeing it, it's happening in the front end, it's going through the origin, and it's unfortunately a database back end call where we're seeing this failure.
Well,
so,
I have to jump in and say, channel our friend Jeff Geerling and say it's always DNS, and that's causing the failures.
So clicking into the database layer here in the back end layer in the database service, again, you can see, well, tell me, system, where is this failure coming from? What are the types of alerts or failures? In this case, we can see a couple of unauthorized failures happening for a single application here. You can see unauthorized. Obviously, that's a 401. You know that's coming from your server. I don't have to look any further. I just want to click into that application trace. And clicking into that application trace takes you over into this trace map. So for that individual instance or event, we saw a 401 unauthorized error. You can now go into the trace map and see, all right, well, what services were initiated, what services were called, and where essentially does this end up? This is just a different view into it. We're also capturing tracing errors. You can actually click here as well. And going back into a single trace. All right, perfect. So from here, you want to click that trace. That'll take you over into the trace map. And this allows you to drill into the actual trace calls from that back-end perspective. So in this case, you can see latency coming from this call. What was that call? What was the response from the server? And we already saw the impact to the end user, which was a 401 unauthorized error trying to get into the platform. Any questions on those two kind of paths, whether it's a DNS failure from the front end perspective or a back end service call issue?
My eyes are obviously awful, but I think I see a Java icon down there. Is that indicating that it's looking at the code directly?
Correct.
Or
Yep. It's through OpenTelemetry, it's following that trace essentially through all of the different services, whether it's Java, whether it's Python, Java or Go, we would capture that and you'll be able to see that.
and if you click on that, are you seeing APM information within here? Or are you just seeing the network traffic?
No, we're seeing the API. We can go all the way to the code and tell you which line got executed.
Exactly. Like what was that database call, right? What was the latency for that database call? You can go to the high-level dashboard and say, okay, well, how frequently is this happening? Again, we need to adjust our thresholds.
When this opportunity landed on our lap, it made total sense because for the first time, again, as a practitioner myself, it's like I can go from the end user directly to where the problem is versus what typically people do today, which is you look at the dashboard of some kind of APM and say, is there a problem? Now, let me go back. This is, I think, the better way of looking at things is from an end user perspective. Let me focus on the end users and then drill into the problem.
Yeah, I have a couple of companies I'd really like y'all to work with.
Well, I may have missed this, and sorry if I did. So, optics are actionable insights. So, if you see a traffic, can you take injection points there and do some type of action?
So with the data, so you're referring to like a traffic issue. Maybe there's latency coming from a single provider. Yeah. So with that.
Yeah. So sorry, Brendan.
No worries.
So we have some customers. One of them I cannot name. They're a big e-commerce company based here, and actually, no, we can because they're public. eBay, for example, right? So they use our synthetic and RUM data in conjunction with NS1, the IBM company that bought, and we do multi-CDN steering in real time. So there is no human attached to that, right? It's automatic, and literally they drive amazing user experiences because there is a system that continuously takes two signals, the real user signal and the synthetic signal at super high frequency to basically steer the traffic between an Akamai or Fastly or whatever else. So yes.
Great.
And that's what I want across the globe for every customer, and not just for CDN. We need to bring this level of automation to cloud, to DNS vendors, to CDN vendors, because the user should not suffer from an outage or performance issue.
And that's available now, or
yes? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The thing is, like, being able to do this level of automation is still very expensive.
Right.
So very few companies can afford to do this, but it needs to be democratized, right? And there are some companies that are playing a bigger role. There is a company I just spoke to actually in Israel where they're starting to basically build automation. They have their DNA in CDN and whatnot, and they're doing multi-steering. And we need to have steering. There are very, very few companies that have they even have groups and departments called traffic engineering, That's what these guys are called. They're traffic engineers. They're like air traffic controllers, where they're literally steering across cloud vendors, CDN vendors, and whatnot.
And if you don't have that team, obviously the data, having the data and providing it to that CDN or that DNS that you're leveraging is, first step to try to fix those issues for sure.